Yeah. Yeah. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my first go at a book review channel. I've always read books from a very young age. I used to go along to a second-hand bookstall on Bury Market and come away with 10, 12 books back when they were 10 pence a pop. So that shows you how long ago it is now. And the guy who ran the stall, Mr. Waterson, very nice guy, offered me a job. So I worked there before and after school, Wednesdays, Fridays, and on the Saturday. And it was great because I got to look through all the books and choose a stack. I got paid, and I also took home a big stack of books as well. So I've read quite a few books in my time. I still like reading, and I've looked on YouTube, and quite often when they do top 50 greatest books and this kind of thing, it looks a little bit like the top 50 films, with some films at the top that I don't believe that anybody's watching. No one talks about watching, and it seems a little bit the same way with books. So this will just be my take on what I've enjoyed reading and why. Try and not do too many spoilers, but I'll pick out some books and I'll say, why I think that they're worth a read, or who they're worth a read to. So this is going to be my first go. So what book am I going to choose? I've chosen a very, very small book, one of the smallest books I've ever read. It's called A Technique for Producing Ideas by James Webb Young. Okay. Now, it shows you how thin it is, and that includes 2 forewords and a little section at the back where he describes the reaction of his little book. So the pages are quite small, and the actual content of the book is only about 40 pages long. So it'll be quick and painless if you don't enjoy it, but you should. I mean, what a fantastic title for a book. A technique for producing ideas. The guy who wrote it was an advertising executive, so he knows how to sell an idea. And this book is about how to produce ideas. And who's not going to want a book on that topic? So it's very, very thin. It's a very enjoyable read, very easy to read. He uses a few visual techniques in there. It's really nice how he starts off the book describing, what gave him the idea of the book. Again, I don't want to do too many spoilers. So he goes through that, what sparked the reason for the book, and he then goes through, using advertising and some other things as well as a background about how to go about producing ideas. It was written, I think, around about 1960. So you get a little bit of a, not a dated flavour, but a little bit of a flavour of the at the time of the, you know, the kind of the language that he's using. You know, it doesn't say things like cool and hip, but there's just a kind of a little bit of a background flavour at the time. You know, positive American energy in there. You know, clearly he's fond of ideas and, you know, fond of advertising and marketing. So there's that as a kind of a bit of a backdrop as well. He clearly likes people. You can kind of feel that he likes ideas. There's also a little bit of a flavour at one point of the book Think and Grow Rich. You know, that kind of, if you've read that book, just at one point it kind of, you know, made me kind of feel there's a kind of a little bit of a similar vibe going on with you know, the ideas in that book. Okay, so I don't want to do any spoilers. It's not big enough for me to kind of really read like a, you know, a minor couple of lines from it without kind of spoiling it really, but it should be available on Amazon. It should be pretty cheap because it's very, very thin, but if you can pick up a copy of that, the kind of the best selling point for the book, you might want to pick it up thinking, oh, you know, I'm looking for inspiration to write something, or, you know, you might just pick it up as a kind of, you know, a general, you know, as part of your reading, because it's going to be done pretty quick. But it's one of those that can kind of sit on your bookshelf. You can go back to it again and again and again. I've read it quite a few times, and there's some simple core ideas in there and structure that can really embed into your brain. But the best bit that I liked about it as a creative person myself, trying to write and all the things that I'm trying to do, it's one of those books that you read and you really feel it's giving you something. You read it and it's not like, oh God, that's a technical thing, that's going to be really hard work, and oh, how am I going to make that work? It's not that. You'll be reading, or my impression, it might not be yours, but as I was reading it, you can feel your motivation and your creativity rising. It's not something where you kind of, there are tools in there, but they're not kind of tools that you're kind of thinking, how am I going to have to use them, and, you know, will I be able to use them? You're immediately getting a sense of, yes, this makes sense. Yeah, that I do that. I'm using that already, and that explains this. So there's a real, basically, you finish the book and you kind of feel that, yes, it's helped you. It can help you in the future, and it's just going to sit there forever on your bookshelf. The only way it's not going to sit there forever on your bookshelf is if you pass it on to somebody else. So, you know, keep your eye out, pick up a couple of copies, give it to the people that you love and care about. All good. So that's book recommendation 1, if you like. A Technique for Producing Ideas by James Webb Young. Fantastic read.